Cheers, guys. G'day, Steve. How are you?
Hey guys, how you going?
Good, thanks,
I'm good.
Steve.
So how's the band been handling this lockdown situation at the moment, Steve?
Probably the same as everyone right about now, but unfortunately we've had to postpone a few shows. But we were supposed to go to Melbourne, do a leg of the tour in Melbourne, I think last week or maybe the weekend before. And yeah, just all got postponed and pushed back, and it is what it is, and bands have got to really sort of deal with it in their own way. But I think we've been dealing with it pretty well. So we just it is what it is.
Yeah. Have you been using it as a bit of a creative downtime, I suppose, to kind of write songs and use it as a time like a creative period?
Oh, for sure. I think me and Veronica live with each other. Veronica's a lead guitarist, and we've both just been like playing guitar non-stop and because we've been trying to write music all year. So at least we have a lot of chance to do that now, like get some more songs in the bank and start working on new material.
And are you guys as a band, like do you record as a whole band, or do you do the drums and then kind of do the bass and guitars yourself?
So yeah, we much prefer to do everything as live as possible.
Yeah.
So like for instance, the last EP we did almost all of the tracks straight up live, like all of us in the room. So you had the drums, the rhythm guitarist, lead, Veronica, and myself just playing bass, and then we just sort of overdub whatever we need, like the vocals, or if we needed like an extra lick or whatever, we would just overdub that.
Yeah.
So who's in the band and who plays what, Steve?
So you got my wife, Veronica Campbell, is the lead guitarist. We've got Ryan Romar on the drums, and Arthur Divis on the rhythm guitar, and then myself, Steven Campbell, on the bass and lead vocals.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. It's quite a powerful lineup.
Yeah.
The audience is about to find out when we play one of your tracks. But just going back though, like what's the history of the band? How did you kind of form and come together? And I suppose where did the name come from?
Yeah, how long have you been together for as well?
Yeah, so we've been playing together for, I'd say, close to 3 years now, maybe 2.5.
Yeah.
It all came together when Veronica and Ryan, they met in high school. Ryan's sister went to the same school that Veronica went to, and they were pretty good friends. And his sister told her about Ryan playing the drums. And at the time, Veronica was absolutely obsessed with AC/DC. She went and saw them live with her dad. When was it? Probably the Rock or Bust tour, I want to say.
Yeah.
And she was just obsessed from that point onwards. And she went and learnt every single song by them that she possibly could. And Ryan, at the time, had also went and learnt every AC/DC song on the drums. So they got together and they were just playing AC/DC songs for a couple of years in high school. And then after high school, they tried to get a few different people in, like rhythm guitarists and singers and all that, but no one really sort of solid enough to actually call it a band.
Yeah.
And I had just moved down from the Sunshine Coast. I lived up in the Sunshine Coast for most of my life, and I played in bands and did music and all that in high school. And I moved down here about maybe 4 years ago, and just randomly got a message from her one day. She's like, "Oh, we're looking for a singer. Do you want to come and be the singer?" And I was like, "Yeah, sweet." So I showed up, and at the time they did have a bass player. But I think after about 2 weeks, he just sort of stopped showing up to rehearsal, which happens, in the music industry. And like I told them, I'd played guitar since I was like 13, and they were like, "Well, why don't we get you to try the bass out?" And I'd dabbled on the bass every now and then. And as soon as I started playing it and singing, like I just couldn't put it down. So it was almost destiny. Like I needed to have that. Because I've always wanted to have like a guitar or something that I'm doing also while singing, but I just never really found like a group that it sat with well. Like the last two bands I was in, I was just singing. But yeah, and soon after that we found Arthur. We went through a few different rhythm guitarists, and it was just the same sort of issue where people just wouldn't show up or they just weren't really that into it. And it was like, that's fine, you know, as long as we can find someone that is. And it took us a little while, but we got Arthur, and our personalities just melded straight away. And that's really, from the get-go, why we decided to just hone in on him. Like, it was just a really good connection with him.
Yeah.
And I think the name, as far as the name goes, we my dad taught me how to sing because he was back in the rock and roll industry back in the day in like the 70s, late 70s and 80s and that.
Oh, wow.
And he made a band with a few musicians that were pretty well known at the time, and they called themselves Avalanche. They did, I think, one full-length EP and LP, and they had a few chart singles, which is cool. But yeah, it just didn't really work out, and they all went their separate ways after a while. But I thought it would be a good way to sort of carry on the name, you know, the passing of the torch.
Absolutely. One question I was going to ask is, mate, how do you play bass and sing at the same time? What is the secret to doing that?
It is definitely a lot more difficult than I thought originally.
Yeah.
Like I said, I played guitar for a long time, and playing guitar and singing is all right. But playing the bass and singing, like, it's so much more rhythmic, and you have to be, like, at least with the guitar, you can sort of be a little bit off and you'd still be able to pull it off.
Yeah.
But with the bass, you have to be perfectly on point. And that has been a little bit, like, hard to adjust. Like, when we first started playing, it was always either I did really good singing and, like, kind of sloppy playing, or I did really good bass playing and kind of sloppy singing. It took me a while to get that sort of balance right. But, yeah, it was definitely a big adjustment. Like, it's so different from playing guitar and singing.
Oh, I can imagine, for sure. I don't even know how you do it. Like, and one other question I wanted to ask, though, who are your musical influences?
Well, I mean, coming from the background that I have, like, my dad was in the pub rock scene back in the day, so obviously I grew up heaps on that sort of stuff, like AC/DC, Rose Tattoo, Screaming Jets, all of that sort of like old school pub rock that you would definitely have heard back in those days. But when I was in high school, I went through a really big metal phase, and I started listening to heaps of metal bands like Metallica, Pantera, Slayer, just all those sort of like thrashy, really fast-paced but really good bands.
Yeah.
And like for like a good 2 or 3 years, it was just straight metal. I didn't want to listen to anything else. Everything else was just not good, you know. But after high school, I went and did a bit of a diploma in music at TAFE, and that's when my like sort of taste really sort of refined itself, and I listened to all sorts of things. I went from classical to jazz to basically anything that I could find something that was good about it, and I was like, right, you can appreciate that, and therefore, like, that's what I kind of liked about it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all over the place. But from when I was a young kid, it was always just the pub rock sort of, you know, Jimmy Barnes, Supertramp, all those sort of bands. Like, my mum loves Supertramp, so they've got a really good sort of place in my heart for them. But you know, they're not quite hard rock, but still, like, they've got some killer songs, and they were apparently really good to see live. My dad's told me a few different times that he went and saw them live, and they just absolutely blew everyone away.
Yeah. Well, you can kind of see, Steve, that you kind of wear your influences on your sleeve a little bit. But
Of course.
I think we should go to a song. We're going to play Secondhand Band and really show the audience, you know, your music, because it's brilliant.
What's the song we're going to play,
thank you.
Hamish?
Secondhand Band. I had to pick kind of pick and choose, because some of them were explicit and we can't play explicit music on the radio, unfortunately, but I wish. Anyway, guys, we'll be right back with more the Hamish and Jordan show, but here's Secondhand Band by Avalanche.
Sounds good.
That was Secondhand Band by Avalanche, and we're joined by the bassist and singer, Steve.
Hello.
So tell us about that song, Steve, that we just played.
So that's the title track of our new EP that we've been touring around and playing shows for. It's probably one of the shorter sort of songs that we do, which was cool. But it came together really, really quickly. Like, Veronica originally had the idea for the riff, and it probably took her like 10, 15 minutes to really scrap it all together. And she brought it in, and we listened to it and sort of threw some ideas around, and I came up with the lyrics pretty much the next day, and we just started playing it from there. But the main idea of the song is just sort of like about sort of our experiences so far as a local band, just playing the bucket and all the ups and downs it has. It also touches on sort of how local bands, or sort of brand new bands, I should say, generally they'll have their own influences, and a lot of their music will sort of come out sort of sounding like what they really like, which is cool. But and that's really what we've done as well. You know, we, like you said, wear our influences on our sleeves because that's what we like, and that's the kind of music we think is good. But it's also sort of about, you know, getting your own voice as well.
Yeah,
nice.
I think
it does sound a bit like, I don't know, AC/DC a little, that song.
And I think in a way that's like really props to you guys too, because I mean it's really hard to kind of, you know, master the rhythm of AC/DC.
Well, it's interesting because like the way that they play their hard rock and that, it's all blues based, and like a lot of the times when you're trying to write new like sort of rock songs and you want them to be blues based, a lot of the times they'll just come out sounding like AC/DC.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I like how you've nailed it, and like it doesn't sound like, you know, it's right on the beat, like it's swinging, which is nice.
Yeah.
Which is props to you guys. Like you've got that. The rhythm section sounds, you know, really solid.
Yeah. Thanks, Steve. Ryan will like that.
Now, a question for you, Steve. Where can people go to hear Avalanche's music and find out more about you guys?
So we have all of our songs currently up on pretty much any streaming site that you would use, so Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, even I think Tidal maybe, I'm pretty sure. But also you can come to our Facebook page, EP from there, or from Bandcamp, or from also, I think it's Dead Pulse is a website that has our EP on it and all that, which is through one of our labels. You can also just message us on Facebook or email and ask for a copy. We'll send it out. You know.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're available across all platforms.
Cool.
Well, yeah, we try to be.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's very good. We're going to go play some more music here on 2BACR 100.9 FM. And thank you very much, Steve, for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
No
worries. Thanks for coming on.
Of course,
Steve.
anytime.